How's it going, guys? AnystyleFit here. Today I'm going to tell you my top 5 tips and tricks you must know before getting started with resistance bands workouts. Now, tip number 1, it's the most obvious, and that is of course being careful. Resistance bands can really hurt if they're not anchored well and they come loose, and they might hit you in the face, hit you in the stomach, and it will really hurt. So tip number 1 is always be careful and make sure you anchor your resistance bands well so it won't come loose. Tip number 2, you can increase, for example, you have only one resistance band, you can increase and decrease the resistance it will give by just simple tricks. For example, if you're standing in it, placing your feet further apart will cause more resistance, and putting closer, you'll give it more slack and it will become easier. Let me show you an example. So, for example, I'm going to stand in resistance band, I'm going to place my feet close next to each other, I'm going to lift it up, and I can push it up. And it's not that hard. Now if I place my feet further apart, it will stretch out more, and from now this position I push up, and it will have a lot more resistance than it had before. Now the second thing you can do is just wrap it around your hands on both sides, and then placing your feet in, and that will also increase the resistance. So as you can see, if I place them further apart, it will get a lot harder. And you can do the same by, for example, wrapping the resistance band around your hands or around your feet to increase the resistance. So you can play with that and adjust just to your level. Tip number 3 is using objects around you, and especially a door. There's so many things you can do with a door and resistance bands. It's really insane. And I'm going to show you an example of what you can do with a door. As you can see, I've anchored it on top of the door, and now I can sit in front and I can do different exercises. I can make a pull down, I can come up and place my hands in, I can do a tricep extension or pull down, push down for your triceps, etc. What you also can do is lift it up here. And to place it around the door handles, you can stand back and you can pull, you can stand in it, you can push. Alright, we're already at tip number 4, and that is most people try to do the same exercise with a resistance band as they would with a dumbbell. Let me, for example, take the bicep curl. They just would do the same movement as with a dumbbell. The difference in training, however, is with a dumbbell you will always have the same resistance no matter where you are in the exercise. The full movement will have the same resistance. With a resistance band, the higher you go, the more contracted you are, the more resistance it will give. So all the way down it's no resistance at all, and the higher you go, the more resistance you get. This might be a problem for some people because they can go up and they can hold it at a 90-degree angle, but if I go further, the resistance will be too much and they will snap back, meaning they totally miss out on the eccentric phase of the movement. The eccentric phase, you have a contracted phase, so you come up, and the eccentric phase is just releasing it back down. During that time you will actually make the most progress for training. So missing out on that would be really a shame, and it wouldn't be very sufficient. So what you can do is a training method called pulsing. Now I'm going to show you an example with the bicep curl right here. Pulsing. Now I'm going to take the bicep curl for an example. And what you're going to do is you're going to lift the resistance band up halfway point, so to a 90-degree angle. And what I'm now going to do is going to slightly go up and down, and I'm going to keep repeating slightly up and down, and that is pulsing. As you can see, I was pulsing with the bicep curl as an exercise. Now some of you might say, well, that's a terrible range of motion, and I agree. There's almost no range of motion, but there is a benefit to this. Let's see, if you go with the bicep curl and you go all the way down, your bicep isn't under tension, it's totally relaxed. That's it, there's no resistance for your bicep. If you go all the way up, there's also a slight decrease in resistance because you can easily hold it up here. Now what you're doing with pulsing is maximizing your time under tension. The entirety of the movement, your bicep will be under tension and it will have no rest at all, which makes it a valuable training method. Something to consider and to add into your workout. Now moving on to tip number 5, and we're already at the last tip, and that is most people view resistance band as something you can use to increase resistance. Therefore the name resistance bands. But what most people don't know is you can use resistance bands to aid you in an exercise. Let me take for example a side race, and you have a dumbbell, you have some weights, and you want to increase it just a little bit further, but you're not sure if you can make it or you can't, and you want some extra help. What you can do is you can use the resistance bands to aid you in the exercise, meaning you can lift heavier weight, or even you can use resistance bands to help you aid in a pull-up if you have a pull-up bar, and it will help you learn the movement. I'm going to show you what you can do with the door, and it will help you, how it will help you to aid with a side race. Now, how can a resistance band aid you? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it on top. And let's say for example I'm going to do a side race with a dumbbell or some weights, doesn't matter, or just with your arm, and it's getting too heavy. Now I anchored it on top. I'm going to place my arm in, I'm going to twist it around my arm just a few times. And now if I go down, the resistance band will help me go up. So down, up. And it will actually aid you in the movement. So you can lift a little bit heavier, you can do a few more reps, or whatever you want to use it for. But it shows you can use it to aid you. Now that were my 5 tips and tricks you must know before getting started with resistance bands training. If you like this video, please remember to like and subscribe for any future content. And thank you all for watching. See you next time. Peace.